Question, Daniel 9:27, usually translated as for a week. Could it be translated in the week, denoting when not for the term? I'm not quite sure I'm following there. But in Daniel 9:27, it says, then he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, but in the middle of the week he shall bring an end to sacrifice and offering. On the wing of abominations shall be one who makes desolate, even until the consummation which is determined is poured out on the desolate. All right, great question. So, so he's gonna strengthen. He's gonna confirm, strengthen. Um, a brit. A brit is a covenant, a contract. La rabim. All right. La rabim. Now, the word rabim is the same word that Jesus used when he said that he came to give his life as a ransom for many. Kind of interesting there. And it says Shavua Echad. All right, so Shavua Echad. Shavua definitely means a week. There's no question about that. A Shavua, and it's one. So it's 1 week. Now, let's go back a little bit to understand what these weeks are. Are we talking about 7 days? Is that what we're to understand? Or is there something else? All right, so we go back into verse 24, the same chapter, Daniel 9:24. 70 weeks are determined for your people and for your holy city to finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, etc. So here we have the word shavuim, shivim. Okay, so shavuim, of course, is 70, and then the word shivim is the word for weeks. But we would normally see the word shavuot. So the word shavuot means weeks, like a week of days. So what we glean from this is that the word shivim is not technically speaking of 7 literal days, but it's speaking of a 7 something. The word for that in Greek is a heptad. A word in English that is similar would be the word dozen. Now, when I say a dozen, I think of eggs, right? A dozen eggs, right? But of course, a dozen doesn't have to be eggs. It could be a dozen anything. But we often think of a dozen eggs because they come packaged that way, etc. And so we're often thinking that way. But so here we have the word shivim, and we think of a week because a week has 7 somethings, right? 7 days in it. But here this is the shivim. So there are 70 sevens that are determined. So there's 70 units of 7 that are determined for your people and for your holy city. All right, so that's a really important clue. Know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the command to restore and build Jerusalem until Messiah the Prince, there shall be 7 weeks or 7 units of 7s and 62 units of 7s. All right, that's another way to look at it. So that would be 69 units of 7. And after the second group of 62 7s, Messiah shall be cut off. So we scholars have basically pegged this to be, I think it's 432 AD. I think I might be off by a year or two, but that is essentially the year that the command was given to rebuild Jerusalem, and then we go from there until Messiah himself was cut off. A lot of the work on this was done by it's escaping me. Sir Robert Anderson. There we go, Sir Robert Anderson, and he did some excellent work on this, and so I'm referring to his work, and that gives us a time when Messiah was cut off, but not for himself. All right. So then the people of the prince who is to come, that the people of the prince who is to come. So as the logic goes, the people of this prince who is to come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. Who were the people that came and destroyed the city and the sanctuary? That would be the Romans, or let's call it the Roman Empire. Okay. So there's a lot of people there. And then the prince will come out of this basic group. All right, so it doesn't mean he has to be necessarily Roman or Italian, but he has to be somewhere within the Roman Empire. So that means that he could come out of Egypt, for example. He could come out of North Africa. He could come out of Turkey. He could come out of Rome. That's certainly a possibility. Could come out of Spain, possibly England. There's lots of places that this person would come from, but that would suggest that he probably will not come from mainland China. All right, so that's something to think about. And then this individual is going to confirm and make strong a covenant, a contract with many for 1/7. All right. So again, the word is shavua. We don't have it now in the plural, so it's a little bit harder to see. But presumably, because it's the same type of language that's being used through this chapter, it's still a unit of a 7. So because the others were referring to units of 7 years, I think it's very logical to suggest that this is still speaking about the unit of 7 years versus 7 days. So to get really into the heart of your question is instead of for a week, could it be translated in the week? So vachetzi hashavua. So and half of the week. That's all it says. And half of the week. So half of this 7. We really don't have a preposition. It doesn't tell us, for or in. If that were the case, then we would expect the preposition le or the preposition be, but we don't see those. We say vachetzi hashavua, yashbit zevach umincha. So we just don't have that. So I cannot really answer that. I hope I was able to help explain a little bit about some of the other things that are happening in this passage, but the actual language doesn't tell us because there's no preposition to give us any more clues, which is such a bummer.